Puny mortals, dare you to enter into the Lich's Lair?
Hello.
Sorry if I blew in everyone's ears with that.
Oh, that's pretty good, Jeremy. It's pretty good.
I threw that together during the beginning of this stream.
Oh, that's funny.
Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to see this Path of the Totem Warrior Shark Totem.
Yeah, so just as a super quick intro, guys, this is Lich's Lair, a segment of the show where Pete and I look at some quality homebrew submitted by our community and really give it a real good look. We look at it in the context of our Fantasy Labs rubric, which we've got up on stream now. Pete, you want to talk a little bit about our 5 categories for evaluation of the rubric?
Do I ever, Jeremy? We evaluate on a 5-point system, and the points are, binary. Does it have this or does it not? And those categories are space, balance, playability, design, and flavor. The first one, space. Is there room for it in 5th edition? Does it fill a niche mechanically that the system lacks? Or would it be better just redone as a reflavor of something that already exists? Basically, is this something that doesn't exist in 5e and that 5e needs or could benefit from? Next, we got balance. That is the balance. Y'all know it. You love it. It's just straight up and down. Is it too powerful, too weak? Playability. This is more of the balance from kind of an RP and more of a metagame perspective, I guess you can think about playability. And that is, would introducing this to the game disrupt the flow of play in some unforeseen ways? Maybe it would be really frustrating to GM for, or frustrating for a player to use, even though it is maybe technically balanced. Design is the next one. Just, is the design elegant? Is everything said in the simplest and cleanest way that it can? Are some of the features, done in such a way so that they don't have to be complicated and they're easily understood while still being interesting? And flavor. Do you like it? Is it exciting? Does it sound like fun to play? And is it that way throughout the whole homebrew? Also, I almost want to give a half point. Do the flavor and mechanics work together on this? But that's a side.
Yeah, that kind of falls under flavor a little bit. But I'm very excited. We have a special guest submission. Pete mentioned earlier. Path of the Totem Warrior, the Shark Totem, submitted by Dude Man. Welcome, Dude Man. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, Dude Man.
I am doing amazing. I actually get back to school tomorrow, so this is kind of just a way to, this is just a way to vitalize me, because spring break has just, with quarantine, it's been boring for the most part.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can understand this.
The ultimate quarantine pastime.
So, Dude Man, you made a Primal Path option for the Totem Warrior Barbarian. I'm very excited. What inspired, before we jump into it, what inspired you to make this totem?
So what mainly inspired it was, remember last time I was on Fantasy Labs you were looking at a bunch of the items. It was your comment on basically saying how I'm really consistent and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what, let's take a shot on homebrew. Let's see how, let's take a shot of the subclass. My magic items are good. I've been doing those for a while. So that was kind of the inspiration for this. And the second inspiration was, there is literally nothing that focuses on aquatics when it comes to subclasses.
It's really a missed niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is the Kraken Priest, which is an unearthed arcana, and
it's probably not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the execution on that was not great. So I'm really excited to see what you did here. So the Path of the Totem is a barbarian subclass for anyone who's not familiar with it. And that subclass almost has its own subclasses into itself, which are all of these different animal totems that you can go through and take. And while it gives you the option to pick and choose which features you want as you go through, you can have a bunch of totems. I feel like people tend to just go with one totem and really make that part of their character. Although, it's obviously a player-by-player basis. So this option isn't necessarily a brand new Barbarian subclass on the whole. It's just an option within the.
It's like a subclass.
Yeah, it's a subclass.
I'm very excited because it's. Sorry, go ahead.
I imagined it as more of an expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things I like about this conceptually and creating more totem options for the Totem Warrior, for the Path of the Totem Warrior, is this is something that like an existing Totem Warrior, like Pete was saying, these are options you get to choose from between the different animal types at different levels. This is something that an existing Totem Warrior who levels up to like maybe level 6, right? They were level 5, they level 6. They can now pick this option, right? This becomes an option available. Same with a higher level going to like a level 14. And I like that a lot. I think it's pretty neat.
And also, just thank you for using the D&D time template. Everything looks very nice and is easy to parse when you do so.
Makes it much easier to read.
You're the ones who provided it, so make use of what I have.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it still. And so we're about to dive into this thing. Dudeman, would you like to read your work yourself, or would you like me or Jeremy to read it?
I'd like you guys to read it.
Sure, Pete, you want me to swing a swing, or you want to jump in? Jump into the deep end.
Let's start us off here. So, Path of the Totem Warrior, Shark Totem. And as always, we'll go through the whole subclass, and then we'll go back and start kind of working our way through it, is what we do these. And I think that's a good strategy. So, Path of the Totem Warrior, Shark Totem. At 3rd level, when you adopt this path, you take on the aspects of a shark, a fierce ocean predator known for its deadly speed and jaws. And then Path of the Totem Warrior Shark Totem, Barbarians of the Shark Totem. Your totem could be many things, from a literal shark fin to a shark tooth necklace. At your option, you also gain minor physical attributes that are reminiscent of the shark. Cool.
I dig it. I might, at that point, like maybe mention a couple things that it could be, such as leathery skin, right, or something like that might be cool. Or a large dorsal fin. I maybe put that in there as just like a suggestion to inspire.
Yeah.
And some of that is in the Totem Spirit section.
They might be there. I apologize if I'm jumping ahead of myself.
It's also like you gain the minor physical aspects that are remaining in your Spirit Totem. If you have the bear, it might be unusually hairy and thick-skinned, or if your totem's the eagle, your eyes turn bright yellow. It says that in the original Totem Spirit. So if this was incorporated, it probably wouldn't have that text, because it would be just put on the list rather than changed in the flavor text.
Yeah, well, either way,
I like that you did it here. Yeah.
Let's jump in for the Totem Spirit Shark Teeth. This is a 3rd level feature, and the Path of the Totem Warrior gains options at 3rd level, 6th level, and 11th level. Oh, I'm sorry, 14th level. So at 3rd level, starting at 3rd level, while raging, you gain a special unarmed attack. It is a bite attack that does 1d8 plus your strength modifier piercing damage. The damage die for this bite increases at 9th level, 12th level, 9th level, and 16th level to 1d10 and 1d12 respectively. This bite has a critical range of 19 to 20, and the spirit of the shark turns you into a predator that can pierce any hide. Man, I kind of bumbled the reading of that. My apologies.
It's fine.
Pete, what do you think?
Well, let's do the whole thing, because I want to see the full context.
That's probably a good call.
So, aspects of the beast, underwater predator. Starting at 6th level, you gain the speed and sense of a shark. You have a swimming speed equal to your movement speed, and while underwater, you have blind sense out to 30 feet. Your shark teeth attack also now counts as magical for the purposes of overcoming non-magical resistances and immunities. You can also now breathe underwater.
Mm-hmm. And Totemic Attunement Blood Frenzy. By the time you've reached 14th level, while raging, you have advantage on melee attack rolls against any creature that has less than their maximum hit points. Alrighty. So Pete, where do we want to start?
So yeah, let's start working it through with our rubric. And I think an easy one to start off with, because we've already talked about it a lot, is space. And I think we're in agreement that there's absolutely space for this. I love the idea of a shark totem. And I don't think there's any reason not to have more totem options. Plus, when I saw shark totem, I was like, wow, I'm really surprised there wasn't already an aquatic version of this. So I think space is a knock out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get your point on space, no question. Let's talk about, I think that's probably the most important one is space. The second most important one to me is flavor.
And I feel actually in very much the same way. You, Jeremy?
Yeah, I agree. I think this, from a flavor perspective, right, when you say right at the beginning, right, sharks known for their deadly speed and jaws. I totally agree. The kind of leap out of the water, like bite aspect is so fundamentally shark to me, right? It's what everyone thinks of about sharks, is a great white launching itself out. And so I think that from a flavor perspective, you definitely have the bite aspect on there, and you have the swimming speed aspect on there. So I think having those kind of both tie in a little bit works. I think having those deals in there, and the blood frenzy, of course, it's literally that feature is on all the shark monsters in the game. So having I think from a flavor perspective, you've got like all the flavors there.
Indeed. Okay, where do we want to go next? So do you want to start working through some of the features one at a time now? Because this is where we get into some of the more nitty gritty as we're talking about the balance and the design, playability. I think I'm also comfortable saying right now that I can see no playability issues here.
I do. I see one.
Okay.
And that is, so actually, let's talk about that. The playability issue I see, there's technically two, but really there's one. The one playability issue is at this first feature, right? Totemic Spirit or Totem Spirit, right? You gain this bite attack, and then the 6th level feature ties into the bite attack.
Yes,
and
I wanted
there's
to comment on that as well.
Playability issue there, and kind of also a design issue, where because with this totem warrior path, a barbarian doesn't have to go all of one. They can do several.
Yeah, they're able to mix and match.
Yeah, and so having it directly tie in like that is a little funky. That might be an ability that you'd want from a playability and even a design perspective to put on the other feature, right? As a way of like move it back onto level 3 feature, I think, is the overcoming magical resistance part.
Yeah. Now thinking about it, when you mentioned the options, that immediately went, oh yeah, that kind of is the point of the bite attack. Because what I feel like the main focus of this subclass is definitely the bite attack. I tried to put a lot of emphasis on that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually where I want to let's start talking about the bite attack specifically, because the one thing that concerns me about the bite attack is it's pretty unique that you did like the scaling dice within the sub feature. Normally, I would think like the convention would probably be that you just have one dice, and that would just be the feature, because there is no other totem barbarian feature that does scale. I don't know if that's problematic necessarily yet. I'm curious what you think too, Jeremy. It's definitely unique.
So if I understand correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, dude man, the main goal you're kind of going with here with having the damage die change was having that kind of be a deal like the damage die changing and it being a weapon attack, right? A melee unarmed strike deal. Is that it kind of follows the cantrip idea of over time it gets better, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. So one thing you might not know about the monk unarmed strike attack is that it has the same progression as cantrip.
Yes.
Yeah. And with this one, I took a lot. So the reason I went with a D8 is because monks get a bonus action attack, so that's why they start off with a D4 probably.
Okay.
And racial features get a D6. I wanted this to be better than a racial feature, and most of the martial weapons do 1d8. So I thought a D8 to start off with, and then as you become more in tune with animals and the shark, as you gain more barbarian levels, or just levels in general, your bite also increases in damage in essentially its killing capability.
Well, and from a balance perspective, I think the damage increase is kind of almost essential, given, comparing this to some of the other third level features, right? The bear totem halves almost all the elemental damage, basically everything besides psychic.
The third level ones are very powerful across the board. Yeah,
the wolf can give all of your allies advantage basically all the time, right? They're very potent level 3 features, and so this just gives you an optional different weapon, and that weapon, at least at that first level, isn't actually stronger than what you'd normally use with like an axe or anything like that. Unless you're using it's actually weaker than like a greatsword or a great axe.
The power is coming from the crit range here.
Yeah, the question I had for you, dude, man, and let me know how you feel about this guy, because with this feature, right? Do you envision it as the barbarian, like, actually growing, like, extra jaws and, like, elongated face and biting? Or do you see this more of a, like, spectral jaws, like the spirit of the shark swims around me and I'm using that to fight?
I kind of imagined it as your teeth sharpen a bit, and your mouth kind of grows a bit, pops out a bit, and you essentially take on a more savage way of fighting.
Form.
Yeah,
a physical almost transformation that you undergo a little bit that comes along with this totem spirit.
Yeah, like the totem spirit is influencing your rage essentially.
Yeah, no, I get you. So I think from just looking back at our rubric, right, for balance, playability, design, I don't think there's really necessarily an issue with the design. There's some different ways maybe to write it that are more like convention, but I'm not even sure. I think I'm not sure. I'm not positive how I would necessarily change this, because I'm just trying to figure that out. I get where you're going with the crit range. I get where you're doing with the damage increase.
And the crit range, I think, works. I think it's a good reflection.
I think it makes it special.
Yeah, and that's really what the power is coming from on this, because it has to, you think of this thing as having to stack up against the Barbarian one, which is
the bear.
I'm sorry, I said the Barbarian, the bear one.
Yeah, let's not sugarcoat it. The bear is the most objectively, universally powerful one.
Yes.
So that's what we're comparing to here.
And this compares maybe a little bit weaker, I would say, than the bear one, which is probably right where you want to be. So the balance there, I think, is pretty good.
I think I disagree. I think this is actually considerably weaker, considering it doesn't give you this isn't a bonus action attack. This is instead of using your action to make an attack with your sword, you have this other shark tooth bite.
I guess it's the issue of magic items. The thing that was making it work for me is that it opens you up to be a shield barbarian. Because you're probably gonna, if you're using this bite a lot, it's also almost got like a hidden +2 AC rather than the great weapon most barbarians use.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think.
Can I add really quick?
Yo, please do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Another thing. So when I was considering the shark teeth, I actually thought like this would stack with the Hungry Jaws feature that lizard folk get, where they can make a special bite attack and gain 10 hit points equal to their con mod. I was thinking this would, instead of making that normal bite attack you get from being a lizard folk, you could use this one if you're raging.
I see. Your idea would be, and that actually works really well. Well, sort of. But I guess that's not really the point I was necessarily. You're right. There is synergy with the subclass. With the race option.
Yeah,
but,
and that would be fun for a lot of people, I'm sure. That would.
I don't know. My personal feel here is, as a feature right now, it doesn't really do a ton. If this were a D12 to start and just never, or even a D10 to start and never increased and always bypassed magic, like that would be something interesting, right? You get your third level feature lets you attack incorporeal stuff for full damage. That's the key difference, and I think that would be the thing that makes this unique, as opposed to like because you look at the frenzy barbarian, the path of the berserker, and they get a bonus action extra attack. Like, that's so strong, considering this is, instead of making your attack, you can make this other different attack that's just as strong. You know, like, for me, this looks like a side grade as it is, with a little bit of extra crit range. I don't know. I think just to simplify it, I would have just given it one higher damage die.
D10 for me.
I could even say the D12. I honestly wouldn't even have a problem with the D12.
Is okay? Do you think
I don't think this would be a problem at a D12 gaining the bypassing magic resistance and having the crit range at this level. I don't think it would be a problem.
You don't think, but also the shield too, though, because it changes playstyle.
I'm just thinking of it in the context of.
Another thing to consider when comparing against Frenzy is that this subclass, unlike Frenzy, you get the Spirit Speaker utility feature, which isn't a major thing, but it is another thing that you get at 3rd level. As the Path of the Totem Warrior, you're going to get Beast Sense and Speak with Animals. So this isn't the full weight of that 3rd level.
Well, another thing to consider here is your 6th level feature, right, gives you a swim speed, which means if you had this bite, you would be able to bite without any disadvantage underwater. But for the Path of the Totem Warrior, for the barbarians that took the 3rd level feature but maybe don't take the 6th level feature, maybe they have their eyes on the eagle, right? The eyesight of the eagle being able to see for a mile away, and that's what they go with. A thing you could put on this 3rd level feature is to maybe put a little note in, and I know I was talking about simplifying it by taking off the scaling damage, but maybe this functions or attacks without disadvantage underwater, right? Some tie into the underwater combat rules could be cool.
And that's what I thought about.
Yeah, you did that at 6th level.
Yeah, because so the reason I didn't start off with a D10 or a D12, I did consider it while making, but the reason I chose scaling to present was because I was worried about having a D10 bite attack or starting off with a D12 bite attack and then alongside the crit range. I was worried that it would be a little too powerful, so I just went with the middle die of a D.
I feel you there. Personally, yeah, I think it should just have the D10 and have the crit range. And honestly, you could even throw the overcoming resistance once it reaches 6th level. Right, give it a little bit of scaling and break convention a little bit. That'd be my personal thought. What do you think, Pete?
I would lean towards the D10 personally. The other thing to consider is the special unarmed strike. I like that you did that rather than calling it a natural weapon.
Well, I think what you could do is you could say, and I think the convention currently is to say it like this: you can make a special unarmed strike using your jaws a natural weapon, is I think the way they do it now. And that way, if you end up cross-classing into like a paladin, for example, you could smite on these, which you normally couldn't. You know, if you cross-class into a monk, you could stunning strike or something on these. So I think having both in there is the new convention, but I'm not positive of that. They've swapped so far. They swapped around a lot throughout the design of 5e.
It's interesting how many niche rules that are starting to come up within the sharp teeth feature, which is at its core a pretty simple feature.
Yeah, overall, I think it's cool. Like, the bite range is good. I don't think it's necessarily an issue. It might even be able to go down to 18 to 20. How do you think about that, Pete?
I think that's starting to...
Too close, too much?
I think that's starting to push it, especially with the way that barbarians interact with criticals.
Oh, you're right, especially because they got reckless attack and everything. Anyway, I think those are our thoughts really on Shark Teeth. As it stands, does it get the balanced die? Not for me, just because I think it's a little too weak as it stands. How about you, Pete?
I'm almost feeling like it's balanced. I think that I'm just seeing this as maybe a little bit more powerful than you, because I think that like the brutal critical is going to give this strength. The advantage on attacks is going to give you a lot of high chances at crits. Just barbarians interact so heavily with critical strikes. I think it's there in terms of power level. Just a little bit under bear for me, but I can see your point too.
Okay. And then for design and playability, I think it's fine. I think having the scaling damage is just a little too much. There's too much going on.
Yeah, the scaling is throwing me as well. I'm having a little issue with the design there.
And no real playability issues here.
Playability, no issues for me either.
I guess you could argue, right, the unarmed strike, natural weapon nonsense, but that's minutia.
That's almost an issue with Wizards more than it is with this feature.
Yeah. It's an issue with 5th edition D&D, but otherwise,
yeah,
solid. I like it.
Yeah, this feature's in a really good spot.
Let's move on to aspects of the beast. Let's talk about this guy in a little more depth.
Yes. So starting at 6th level, you gain the speed and sense of a shark. You have a swimming speed equal to your movement speed, and while underwater, you have blind sense out to 30 feet. Your shark teeth, we talked about them before, the overcoming natural resistances, and you can breathe underwater. I agree that probably the shark teeth needs to move onto the shark teeth feature.
For now, let's just assume the shark teeth stuff is out of here.
Yeah.
What does this really compare to? Because I know at 6th level, a lot of the other options are very utility-centric, and this is actually very powerful if you're underwater. And that's the real key.
Combat potential.
Only if you're underwater, though.
But yeah, niche. Yeah. Let's take a look at some of the other things. That's the carrying capacity for the bear, the eyesight for the eagle. The eyesight one's really cool. Travel pace for the elk, a couple of proficiencies for the tiger, and stealth while tracking for the wolf. So this definitely is more
it's on
powerful.
The powerful side. Yeah. I think what I would say, and I know there's a situational aspect for this, but I think it's definitely overtuned compared to the other 6th level options. And because it's a pick and choose class, we really do have to look at it compared to its other options, not as a cohesive unit. Yeah. I think, the swimming speed alone might be powerful enough. Swimming speed and breathe underwater is where you want it to be. The blind sight is way too much.
Pushing it over the edge.
So the reason I thought about the blind sense was I was thinking that it can only be used underwater. Originally, I had it at 10 feet, I think, or 15 feet, equal to it was equal to the range that the rogue gets at level. And the reason I thought it'd be fine to give it is because it's underwater. It's in such a niche area that, frankly, is rarely ever used in official games, and depending on the nature of a homebrew game, rarely used as well.
I get where you're coming from. However, and I think this is kind of my hot take on this, right? We have to consider this not in the context of a general game. We have to kind of consider it in its best use case. Let's take the Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign setting deal that they've recently released. A heavily aquatic game. This is insanely powerful in that kind of a game. And I think we have to think about it in that context, right? You can't say that, well, because it's only useful 95% of the time, it's not, it's balanced. But that 5% of the time, it is incredible. And it doesn't work like that in 5e. You can't take away to increase. Now, having a 2 and 1 ability score is not, be like, oh, well, I'm going to take a 2 intelligence and make my strength a 30. That does not balance.
Agreed.
So an idea that just came to mind was, how about if you don't have dark vision, you gain dark vision out to 30 or 60 feet. Because I know there are some subclasses, like I'm pretty sure Gloomstalker, which gives you dark vision out to 30 feet or increases your range by that amount.
That's
I get where you're going.
In comparison to Gloomstalker, the problem is it's just you have to really just direct go against the other specifically aspect of the beast barbarian totems for this one when looking at balance. You can't compare it. Like, I like the idea of using that Gloomstalker mechanic because that would be a good mechanic, but this I think needs something taken away from it to keep it in line. And
also, blind sight's very powerful, especially since a lot of monsters, like squid-like monsters, octopus-based creatures, which are pretty common in underwater settings. I mean, this hard counters them with the blind sight.
Well, yeah, blind sight also is universally applicable. It's really strong against invisible enemies. It's not just powerful underwater. That's the other
this
area.
Is only underwater. Is the argument. The blind sight only affects underwater.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry.
I still think it's just too much. It's just, would it really be that big of an issue? Probably not. But if you were making this for a published thing and you really wanted to like tone in that balance, I think it would need to go. For a home setting, maybe it's fine.
To like put it in the simplest terms possible, I think if I was playing Totem Barbarian and I didn't have a specific idea of what my character was and this was on the list, I would always take it.
I mean, yeah, even without the blind sight, I think I'd still always take this.
I would lean that way, absolutely.
Yeah,
and there's some that would maybe lure me away without the blind
those.
sight, like the eagle might lure me away without the blind sight.
But that's only because it's cool.
Because it's cool. And the bear might lure me away without the blind sight, because the carrying capacity thing is sometimes good. But
that's the key. Everything is sometimes good. This being situational doesn't change the fact that all of the other ones are situational. Bear is super situational. Like carrying capacity. How often is your carrying capacity, checked in 5e? Almost never, right?
It's
Elk,
like that's almost more. It's just more of an
travel
RP
pace
tool.
over land. Like, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't. It doesn't quite do it for me.
Yeah. For me, it's are you not cool with it without the blind sight, Jeremy?
Oh no, I'm fine with it there. It makes a ton of sense. I just think it's too powerful with the blind sight.
Yeah. Okay. Agreed. Yeah. That's where I'm at as well. And let me throw this. Actually, as it stands, do you have disadvantage on that unarmed strike underwater?
Yeah, you have disadvantage. You would normally, unless you got the swim speed.
Yeah.
So if you have a swim speed, you don't have disadvantage underwater. That's the rule officially.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And I think Farku was saying something in chat. Well, he said the third level ability is weaker, and this kind of makes up for it. The problem is that's not how the Path of the Totem Warrior subclass works, because it is a pick and choose. You can choose not to pick the first one and then pick the sixth one, or you can choose to pick the third one and not pick the sixth one, because it's a kind of build your own spirit subclass. Yeah, you have to look at it in its own little thing.
If it weren't pick and choose, I would probably have no issue with this.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree. But because it's pick and choose, I think that's where it runs out.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my final thought. So I think it's close for me, but it's just the blind sense is pushing the balance a little bit too high.
Yeah, I'm really interested. Dude, man, tell me about this level 14 feature. This is a very interesting feature.
So, like, read it off?
Oh, no, just like, I mean, obviously you're inspired by the Shark's Blood Frenzy feature, right?
Yeah.
Is there a reason you wanted this at 14th level?
The reason I wanted this specifically at 14th level was because, once again, reading it is very overpowered. Like, when you read it, it just seems like an overpowered ability. When I sent this to my brother, have him review it, he looked at the 14th level feature and he said, that seems like it would just take the entire point out of reckless attack. And when I was looking at the 14th level feature, usually it is something that the beast just has, like the wolf. When like the wolf ability, where while you're raging as a bonus action, you can knock a larger, smaller creature down prone when you hit him with a weapon attack.
Yep.
That is tied in with their normal bite attack. And I took this off of I think it's the giant shark and some other shark. They have this and it's not something that has to interact directly with the attack. It's just something that has to interact with, like, what is a core thing that you see with this creature. And that's what I kind of thought of while making Blood Frenzy.
I getcha.
It's interesting because in a lot of ways, the point that you brought up about it kind of steps on the toes of reckless attack, that's the thing that I've been really toying around in my head with this whole time. Because almost in a lot of ways, what this reads to me is less you have an advantage on melee attack rolls in this situation, and more it reads to me attacks against you don't always have advantage, is almost how this reads to me.
It replaces reckless attack by and large.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that.
Almost like an upgrade.
And I think
guess you could say.
Farku was saying this in the chat earlier that, oh wow, advantage on pretty much, we're going to say for all intents and purposes, all attacks. That's really strong. But I guess they have extra reckless attack. So is it really that big of an upgrade? And I'm not sure it is. I think there's actually, from a balance perspective, room to give this feature more. I like it. I think it's super fitting. Obviously, like you were saying, this is a feature that just is literally just straight off the sharks. It works. And one of the things I might recommend that I think might make you a little happier is to get rid of the blind sight there on the 6th level. It's, what if this said, right, you have advantage on melee attacks against creatures that have less than their hit point maximum, and a creature you hit with your melee attacks cannot be hidden from you until the end of your next turn.
I like
think
that.
That could be a really cool way of taking that, like, no, I hit you, I've got your scent now, you're mine. I'm hunting you down, I'm the predator, I'm the shark. And that's a way that you can take that blind sense facet and put it in here in a more nuanced way that, still getting it at 14th level, so it's not quite end-to-end game. You're getting it early enough to play with it, but what do you think, Pete?
I'm kind of into that. Playing with the blood a little bit. Kind of. Well, the thing I really like about this feature is how clean it is.
It is very clean.
I love how clean this feature is. It's just perfectly elegant right now, and so it made me like the idea of muddying the water a bit, so to speak, bloodying the water a bit. It made me a little bit sad, but I think you could do that, and if it was on there originally, I wouldn't have shaken a stick at it, and I would have thought, oh, it's cool. I just love how clean that is. I guess that's my bottom line. I think that could work.
Yeah, I don't think it's underpowered at this level, honestly, especially compared with some of the other features.
I actually think it's like dead on for balance, like I think it's right there.
I think it's a little worse.
You think it's a little bit on the weak side?
I think so, yeah. Because I mean, I'm comparing to Wolf, which I consider to be probably the most powerful, like, direct option there. Because you get to knock things prone. That's very strong if the creature can be knocked prone.
Yeah, it's the lack of save on Wolf too. Is pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. When compared to Wolf, this is definitely a lot.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying I think there's room to give it that little extra, like, and especially because that's a feature that's not on the shark, but it's so on theme for the shark, right?
Yeah. Well,
like, you can't hide from me.
When I'm saying that it's dead on, what I mean to say is I think it falls right in the
middle. You're probably right. I could see it go either way, and I don't think it would necessarily be game breaking. Farku in chat had a comment. Why not put this at the 6th level feature? And I think the answer is because a 6th level feature needs to support that swimming part that's so crucial to sharks.
Yeah, I think I wanted the swimming to be on the 3rd level feature, but that just doesn't make sense for the design of the
Barbarian. I think you've got them in the perfect spots. Like, these are where these features need to go. You've nailed it there, dude, man.
Thank you.
But yeah, I don't know. I could see it go either way. I'm with Pete. I love it. Such a clean, simple 14th level feature. And having that clean, simple, and balanced design, something that's really hard to come by, especially in homebrew. But I don't know. I think it could have that extra little thing that, to me, that would inspire me. Right? It's like, oh, I have advantage of my attacks. Well, I could see myself reading that and being like, well, I already can do that on any other barbarian with reckless attack. Yeah, this is a little better because I don't then start advantage against me. But by 14th level, my armor class isn't very high anyway. Everything's gonna hit me anyway, so I don't really care that much.
Well, you're a shark.
Like, with the extra things
that gets to use your shield, though, Jeremy.
But the thing of the idea of like, oh, but things can't hide from me, that's cool, right? That would inspire me personally.
Yes, I get what you're saying. So from a flavor perspective, I can see where you'd want that. Like, you're trying to up the flavor quotient while I'm trying to maintain the elegance quotient.
Yes, exactly.
And both of them are valid trains of thought, I think, here. It would honestly, like, that's a point that I would just say, dude, man, whatever you think is cool, because you could go either direction with that. Like, keep it the way you have it and preserve that elegance, or really...
That's a personal choice on your designer. Yeah, for you as a designer.
But I think Blood Frenzy as it stands is a fine feature for 14th level. Like it's good to go, and you could just choose to add that extra stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, would you prefer it to be a little cleaner, or would you prefer it to have that extra, to me, flavoring? Yeah. Would you like to add some salt and pepper to that steak, or do you just want a steak?
I think the addition is really creative. I actually I had it all when I was making. I think that would be really fitting for this because the idea of Blood Frenzy is, less than your maximum hit points is I smell your blood, I know your weak spots. Mm-hmm. And the idea of the whole saying with sharks, like they can
smell blood a mile away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, drop of blood a mile away.
I like that being a part of Blood Frenzy instead of underwater pressure. With not the blind sense, but as you described, you can't hide from me. You're tagged.
Yeah, and maybe it can't become hidden. Maybe it's you always know the location of. There's some different text that you could take from. I think the Invisible Stalker has some cool text that you could just pop right onto here. And honestly, Pete, I think it'd still be pretty concise.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see the final thing, but probably.
So overall, I like it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. This is well put together. Absolutely.
Pete, let's go through our rubric here.
Dude, man, nicely done. You did a really good job on this.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. It's actually, this is my first one. So I decided to, go small with Totem Warrior.
You know what? I 100% would encourage anyone out there who really wants to homebrew, follow your dreams, but also if something small inspires you, start with that because it's something you can do, you can finish.
It's great.
And then you can look at that and be like, I did it. It's done. It's right here. A lot of the times, and Pete, we've done this a million times, when we start on something too big, it can be really hard when you hit a wall and then it just kind of flounders.
Can I tell you all the story of my first homebrew? And that was a complete redesign of 5th edition for sci-fi. I have 100 pages of work on that. Yep. Everything is partially done.
By God, dear God.
Don't be me.
But yeah, what? I need this Halo Dude maybe someday. It'll be a super special release, Space Funk. Let's go.
Space Funk! This is aside the point. Guys, did you know that Pete and Jeremy's D&D time was almost a sci-fi podcast?
Almost?
A sci-fi Let's Play podcast?
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know that.
Well, that was what I was gonna do, and then we did this.
Anyway, dude, man, thank you so much. I love this. This is great. I think this will be right at home, right among the other totem options. Hey, let's give it the rubric.
Let's run it through.
Space, you got it.
Yep.
Oh, and actually, quick, tiny discussion about space. Does this fill the space of the aquatic option?
Yeah, to me it does.
Okay, because I know it fills the space of the shark or the predator. Does it fill the space of like the aquatic, right? Could you play like...
It has the aquatic in it. Like it's that 6th level feature that is all of the aquatic that's in this. But also that 6th level features, I think, kind of encompasses all you need to make something aquatic. That's my thought.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like, okay, what's the only other aquatic? Because like a whale or a fish or even an octopus, like we're fine. This works, right? My bite attack can be my beak if I'm an octopus. I don't think there's any issue with those. The only one I'm thinking of that like, what if I wanted to be like a crab totem? Crab. Right, but that's a very niche,
Yeah,
I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think this is fine as I think this is good. I think it's got this.
And also shark is such a barbarian thing for it to be.
Yes. Well, and you know what? Actually, I'm just thinking about it. It doesn't have to be the aquatic option. There can be other aquatic options because the Totem Warrior is definitely a per animal thing. Okay, so
anyway,
space point.
Yeah, it works.
Flavor.
Point. Actually, I do want to add one. Oh God, what was it? I had a flavor note I wanted to make. Oh, yes. Well, for starters, flavor point. Agreed, Jeremy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I have a slight caveat on one thing that was hitting me a little bit for flavor. And this is a minor nitpick, and I wouldn't actually, just personal taste. The shark teeth thing for me throws me off a little bit on flavor. Because when I think of the spirit totem, I don't think of it, I think of it as you having the aspects of the creature, but like the physical transformational aspect of it is a little bit too heavy into that from what I think of as the spirit totem. That being said, it's close enough that I don't really have an issue with it, and that's a minor gripe, but that's the only thing I would say on flavor. Otherwise, it works, and I love it. Like
it's interesting that you mentioned that, Pete, because I want to actually jump back on, right? Totem Spirit says, right, at third level, when you adopt this path, you choose a totem spirit and gain its feature. You just acquire a physical totem, blah, 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 blah. At your option, you may also gain physical attributes that are reminiscent of your totem spirit. For example, if a bear totem, you might gain unusually hairy, thick-skinned, or totem eagle eyes turn bright yellow. Right? It doesn't say that like you have to do that. And so the direction I was kind of going with earlier, or alluding to, right, with like the spiritual bite, maybe if that's something we can just like, perhaps your bite attack manifests as bleh.
You want
Perhaps,
a little flavor blurb on the side of it?
I think it could just be a statement in the ability, right? Perhaps. Oh, actually, I got a question here. This ability says only while raging. Is that intended, dude, man?
Yes, that is intended.
Okay.
So with the 3rd and 14th level features, I noticed that every single one of them said while raging, while raging.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
And with Aspect of the Beast, it's more of it's a passive ability. It's a passive buff that you just have.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's an interesting note, because that changes things a little bit for me. Because it's only while raging. I think that transformation kind of works as a temporary transformation thing, but maybe that's my vibe.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying on that too. Anyway, the flavor point's there. That's just I wanted to make sure I noted that, because that's just my thought, and maybe there's something that can be done, like Jeremy's saying, adding like a line of flavor text to address that particular issue is a way to go, but it doesn't really detract from it in any significant way. So, flavor point.
Playability, we talked about the big playability and design issues of having the shark teeth feature kind of strewn across a couple of features instead, or both the 3rd and the 6th level. But besides that, I'm not sure there's any real playability issues. Blind sense out to 30 feet is so strong, and that is potentially a thing, but I don't know.
But I would put that in the balance category for me more than
I think you're
playability.
Right.
I actually think I'm comfortable saying playability point as well. I don't know about you. Like the playability, the issues we have, I think are going to be in. Let's talk balance and design.
So you got 3 so far. I think this is a new Lich's Lair record.
Yeah, you're actually got the high score. I think you did higher than me.
Balance. This is a good. By the way, that's the good part about starting with something that's like small. I say small, but like much manageable, like a totem option, versus being like, I'm gonna make a whole new class, or I'm gonna create
even a whole new sub. Like you found like a slightly lower on the subclass, which is a cool little niche you found here too.
Balance perspective. I think the balance is off on a couple of these features, and overall, I don't think it gets the point until they're resolved. I think the bite needs a little more. Level 6 needs that blind sight just gone. The level 14 is fine. I don't think there's any real issue there, but you could give it some more.
The 6th level's a little high, and I agree that the shark teeth is a little bit on the low side, and I'd love to see it come to. I'd love to see it come to just like 1d10, and maybe I could be talked into 1d12 flat, but.
Pete, do you think it should have the resistance to magic at 6th level on the 3rd level shark teeth feature?
I almost just want to give it to him at 3rd level, but
that would be something really unique if you did that.
I just don't like. That's again we're getting into a lot of semantics of design and like wanting to stick to convention, and the convention of waiting till 6th level for that. I would rather err on the side of it being unique, where you just get it, rather than the kind of aspect of this particular totem has another thing you have to think about and track when you level up at 6th level.
You're probably right.
That's more worth it to me to take the risk on too powerful rather than that kind of awkward setting of it. But
yeah, and I think Farker's got a great point. D12, it does magic damage and it's got a little bit of a crit range. Perfectly fine for 3rd level. I think it is. Honestly, if that's your whole 3rd level feature, I don't think there's an issue there. But maybe I'm undercutting how valuable that crit range is. Either way, so not quite the balance point yet, but we're almost there. And design, yeah, I think it's just a little bit, especially on the shark teeth feature, it's just a little too much. There's a little too much going on. And I think the damage die scaling was unnecessary. So I think I'd dock maybe the design point for that. But everything's done right? Your convention's all there. Everything's written the way it should be. It's understandable. You understand what's going on. So I don't know. I'm maybe you get design.
Yeah, I'm on. I almost want to say I almost want to say 3.5. The thing that I would
3.5.
The thing that I would dock design for would be the level scaling. And it was the level scaling and the moving the feature onto the other. And I think that's where that would come in. Putting the shark teeth on the aspect of the beast is where the issue comes in. So I would say half because it's close. It's very close.
I agree. So overall, hot damn, 3.5 points. Well done, good man.
Also, congratulations on earning the first half point, which our system explicitly does not allow.
Yay. Yeah. One thing I like about the suggestions that you guys have been giving is that they don't change up a features a lot. It's really just move this right there, move that right there. We're good.
Yeah, move it around, cut out a word here. Just it's funny, the D12 at 16th level are also being like, nah, just give it to him then.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I think because we're thinking, well, a D12 is probably fine, and I think when we put the word probably on there, just give it the 10. Just give it the D10 instead of a D12. Right. Take it down that one notch.
I think the 10 is definitely the way to go, because then you're doing D10 and shield, which is better than base.
So one thing I actually was thinking about is I forgot to cross-reference to this while making this.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the Unearthed Dark. It was one of the recent ones that added the Barbarian subclass, the Beast Barbarian, where literally the 3rd level feature is you get 4 different unarmed strikes that you can choose between each long. Or something like that, and every single one of them did a different thing. And I remember one of them literally did a D12, and I forget what the other ability of it was, but it did from a D6 to a D12 for all of them. And I thought, and I forgot to cross-reference for that.
Well, yeah, but sometimes, especially with the Unearthed Arcana, things can be convoluted or. I wouldn't always rely on the Unearthed Arcana. So I guess my takeaway there.
I would have only cross-referenced for damage, but that's literally all I would have cross-referenced for.
Well, either way, well done. And a question to you, man. So again, you mentioned this earlier with your Path of the Totem Warrior Shark. That this isn't actually the first draft. You had already done a draft of this. You'd send it to your brother to give a review of it and give you some feedback, and then you took another swing at it. Is this your second pass at it, your third pass? Because Frog, the Forgotten One in chat, was talking about how they looked at one of their own homebrew options with the rubric, right? And they were like, I only got 2 points. But 2 points is pretty good for a first draft. That's a pretty solid first draft.
It is.
I believe this was my second draft, and the edition that he told me about, and he thought Underwater Predator Frenzy was great, and he thought Shark Teeth was unique. But the only problem with it is since Beast, since Totem Warrior is an option-based subclass, why would they take Shark Teeth? It doesn't have that. The idea is that it didn't have the improved crit range before, and that's the addition he wanted to add in. And I thought,
it's a great addition.
That's awesome.
And it's a very good addition. Well,
agreed.
Pete, any last kind of thoughts for the wrap up here of this Path of the Totem Warrior?
I'd like it. If I was going Path of the Totem Warrior, it would inspire me to make a shark underwater barbarian. I think it's a cool way to go. Like, I was actually like, dude, man, you're getting out in front of me. I had in the back of my mind, I would love to make an ocean barbarian. And now you've gone and made this You've made this awesome shark totem, so I'll have to put it on the back burner for a while, so I can avoid creative cross-contamination with the stuff that you got here.
I think what you're talking about, Pete, is inspiration.
Inspiration,
I love it,
creative cross-contamination, I think, is a very good phrase that I'm going to use sometimes.
Well, I love it. Very good. Thank you very much, dude, man, for sharing it. It's very cool.
Agreed. I think the closest yet to passing the Lich's Lair, but the Lich's now claim another soul. Jeremy, can you play the thing again at the end to sting us out?
I don't know how to do that. All right.
Really?
Actually, yeah. All right, Pete, say the Lich's claim another soul again.
Wait. Before I do that,
okay.
Thanks so much, dude, man.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. When I do add those, like when I do the third draft, I am going to put it in the I'm going to put it in the finished, the completed work section.
We will.
So,
I look forward to seeing it.
I was gonna say, dude, man, before we say goodbye to you tonight, and thank you again for sharing, of course, is there anything you want to shout out or anything? I mean, where can people find this awesome content and more of your content? Just on the D&D Time Discord, or are there other places?
You can find a lot of my work on the D&D Time Discord. Most of it I post, though I have a separate doc filled with all the magic items I create. So if anyone is ever thinking like, hey, that magic item is pretty cool, I want that in my game, but it's like so far back in the chat, yeah, I'll gladly send it to you. I'll send you a doc of the magic item.
Hot damn! I'd love to see it, like, when you're done. Or I say when you're done, it's a living thing. The Dude Man Magic Item Compendium.
Dude Man's Big Bag Bonanza. Anyway, thanks again so much, Dude Man. And also, just kudos to you for taking the time and having the bravery to step into the Lich's Lair. As it does, and just for everyone watching, it takes a lot of bravery to like put out your content for such like honest and just extreme fine-tooth comb critical review. So I have a lot of respect for that, Dude Man. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
All right, we're gonna take you down.
Thank you for bringing me on, guys. I was excited for this the moment I got that.
Our pleasure, Dude Man. And now the Lich's Lair claims. Wait, are you ready, Jeremy?
I'm ready, Pete.
Another soul.
Puny mortals, dare you to enter into the Lich's Lair?